There are some 300 different succulent species and cultivars growing in my nursery at the moment. Only about 40 are suitable to be grown indoors permanently. And out of the 40, maybe 10 will handle being grown in a darker spot away from the windows. While the remaining 30 don't necessarily need direct sun, they do require a bright spot close to a window to grow well. I know the following is going to be very disappointing to a lot of people, but the great majority of succulents are simply not good indoor plants. They will be fine for a couple of months, but are incredibly likely to eventually die. If you want to grow succulents indoors where no sun comes through, you'll really need to choose your plants wisely or get some good plant growing lights. In this video, we're going to have a look at why most succulents are unlikely to do well indoors, what are acceptable levels of light for indoor succulents, and which succulents are suitable to be grown without any direct sunlight whatsoever. If you're not interested in the why, you can skip ahead to the succulents that don't need direct sun. If you think where the great majority of succulents evolve, it will mostly be dry, arid areas and open spaces where not many larger shade-providing plants grow. Yes, there are succulents that grow in shade and even humid jungles, but their numbers are far and few between. Because of the way they evolved, succulents need quite a bit of direct sunlight, which they then convert into growing energy. This is called photosynthesis. When the sunlight is lacking, plants will start seeking it out as an act of self-preservation, which then leads to etiolation, aka leggy growth. The stem and leaves will elongate in the hope of reaching light. Succulents such as Echeveria will grow from the middle up. When they fail to find light, they will slowly start dying. But those succulents that have evolved in the shade will be more tolerant of not being in direct sunlight. They can perform photosynthesis from indirect light. However, there's a price to pay. In most instances, shade-tolerant succulents are usually smaller and slower growing. In fact, you are unlikely to see much growth in succulents that don't receive any sunlight whatsoever, shade-tolerant or not. So, if you bring a tiny plant inside, expecting it to grow, you may be in for a disappointment unless they are in a super bright spot. Even then, the growth may be slow. I would go as far as to say that shade-tolerant succulents are exactly that. They tolerate shade, meaning they won't die, but they certainly rarely grow, reproduce or flower well inside. But this is not all bad news. It just means that if you want to grow indoor succulents, you may need to buy nearly fully grown plants. They will also require very little maintenance and looking after. You won't need to repot as often and can pretty much keep them in the same pot for their lifetime. To see how to repot into the same pot, I've tagged the video at the end and in the description that demonstrates how to do this. Basically, more light indoors equals better growth and plants' health. If the room is bright and you have big windows, they are likely to not grow much but will tolerate the conditions. These guys are in my living room and they have barely grown in the year that they've been here. The awning at the front makes the room darker, but the window is a decent size and pretty bright. There's also another window at the other end of the room. If you have blinds and pull them down during the day or when you go out, this will affect indoor plants as the light levels can drop significantly. Further away from the window, indoor succulents can start struggling, elongating their leaves and stretching. This shelving unit is in my study and tucked away in a corner, not getting a lot of light. I've purposefully kept these two here to demonstrate how even shade-tolerant succulents can suffer in little light. The Ripsalis is fine, but the Crassula and Haworthia do not look all that well. They've been in here for over 2 years. In darker rooms such as windowless hallways, not many plants will survive long term. This includes leafy indoor types. Just a quick disclaimer, no sunlight doesn't mean no light at all. These plants will still need a window in the room and some indirect light. My favorite succulents for indoors are plants in the Rhipsalis genus. They tolerate low light levels and will even grow and get bigger if the indirect light is bright enough. Rhipsalis are great hanging plants and can be placed on top of shelves or in hanging baskets. They quite like humidity and are the perfect bathroom plant. This Rhipsalis has been growing in my bathroom for a couple of years and is just ticking along nicely. The growth is super slow, but that's to be expected. Dracaena, previously known as Sansevieria, is another genus where most of its members will grow really well without any direct sun. The best one of the lot is Dracaena trifasciata, but pretty much any of its varieties and cultivars will do well indoors in indirect light. If you're after a succulent for smaller pots, Huothiopsis attenuata and Fasciata zebra are a winner. There are many attenuata hybrids and varieties, and all will tolerate indirect light indoors. Aloe species are a good choice for indoors too. They survive surprisingly well but will not grow much and can stretch. If you're after a bit of color, grafted cacti are a good choice. The albino toppa does not do well in the sun due to lack of chlorophyll, but they do need bright indirect light to exist inside. Schlumbergera, aka Christmas cactus or zygo, is fantastic at dealing with shade. This succulent will hang over the sides of the pot, and if the light is plentiful, it may even flower in winter. And finally, Pteropegia woodii. This succulent is a popular vine and the heart-shaped leaves are just perfect. It deals with poorer light and can even grow fairly well if closer to a bright window. There's others of course, and I will be making a full video just on succulents that don't require any sun in the future. But these little plants have never failed me in my pretty dark house. And that's it for today. I hope this video was useful, and if you'd like to add anything or ask a question, you can do so in the comments below. To learn more about succulents, hit the subscribe button or go to succulentgrowingtips.com. Thank you very much for watching.